TV, Toledo. Straight from the newsroom, this is Toledo 11 News.
Just another day on the job for a YMCA worker.
Until she came across this.
Were set up and students were painting welcome signs.
It wasn't quite the thrill of the open road, more like the parking lot of Perrysburg Commons.
It will make its debut.
Just about the only event making news today.
2,000 carryout orders were handled.
Wow, buckle up for this week's WTOL 11 Vault because we're revving up those engines to take a drive back in time. This joyride through history and our WTOL 11 archives is coming at you one classic car at a time. From muscle to minivans, we're shifting gears, cruising on memory lane with some of the most iconic rides ever to hit the streets. So, whether you're a gearhead or just along for the ride, stick with us. We're firing on all cylinders.
Better, faster, quicker on a world-class basis with much less investment.
Plus, despite us going back in time, there are some surprising developments that seem more now than then. We're talking tech to reduce our dependence on foreign oil and the idea of protecting the environment thanks to a revolutionary idea.
Steve, who works for the Hancock Wood Electric Company, is driving an electric van. Sure, this $50,000 model looks like any other van with its General Motors body, but there are no exhaust fumes. Of course, air pollution is far from a major problem in Findlay, but
We think that electric vehicles will have a place even in rural areas eventually because of how they can reduce our dependence on foreign oil.
But electric vehicles do have their problems. This one will travel no more than 60 city miles. Then you have to recharge the batteries for at least 8 hours.
And our trip through time continues into the new millennium at a time when plenty of us were partying like it was 1999. Jeep was looking toward the future.
But one of the most radical changes, the Jeep. They call it Jeep Varsity. The only sure way to recognize the sporty Jeep, it still has the trademark 7-slotted grille. And of course, it's a 4-wheel drive. Chrysler says the Jeep Varsity combines Boulder and Boulevard, and in a few years this concept car could be rolling out of the Jeep plant in Toledo.
It's possible. I would never roll out anything, but we got a great surprise coming for that plant, and it's going to be great for the market. It's going to be great for Toledo.
But before all of that, we start our trip in 1983, a time when 8 tracks were being swapped out for cassettes, and the radio might have been blasting the year's top song, Every Breath You Take by the Police. So you could look around, but the Lincoln Mark 7 is something you can't replace, at least not until the Mark 8 came out about a decade later.
This is the 1984 Mark 7 LSC by Lincoln Mercury. It's a new breed of luxury car. It was built for the more demanding drivers of the 80s who want status and more.
A car that we think offers the American driver the best of two worlds, pure luxury that we've traditionally delivered to them, but more importantly, a driver's experience.
This car is fuel efficient as luxury cars go and more responsive in handling, traits that had attracted domestic car buyers to foreign status cars that were often less elegant.
We see this car not only competing against cars such as the Cadillac Eldorado, but most importantly against cars like Mercedes, BMW, some of the other new imports that are coming in from Europe.
Foreign car makers have captured about 25% of America's car market, a large percentage for domestic car makers to try to recapture. But with this car, Ford thinks it's on the right track.
From the early exposure, particularly in the West Coast, where the imports are very strong, the people who are driving Mercedes and BMW have a clear choice, and it's American.
Big American luxury cars are on a comeback, and for that reason, the makers of Mark 7 think the timing is perfect for the success of the new LSC. It will make its debut on November 10th. I'm Deborah Foggio, Toledo 11 News in Dearborn, Michigan.
The auto landscape has changed a lot over the last 4 years, but 4 decades ago, small, affordable foreign cars were becoming more common on dealer lots, and those peppy little compacts were beginning to drive alongside the larger domestics built by the big three. So, safety became the topic of conversation. 1985, Toledo 11's Rebecca Hanshaw went on a mission to find the vehicles that checked all the boxes.
Where do you begin when buying a car? Safety is the concern of one insurance industry group, and in comparing accident claims, the Highway Loss Data Institute gives some best to worst grades. The small, sporty Nissan Pulsar tops the list as the car with the highest injury rating. Yet car dealer Jim Nelson can't keep the Japanese auto in stock. He says the car attracts young buyers who want jazzy wheels for a good price. How often does the safety factor come into view?
To my knowledge, it isn't really ever brought up.
But Pulsar is center stage for injury incidents. Although some of its Japanese cousins make the list, a few American cars are also there, as you can see from this incomplete list. On the other end of the spectrum, perhaps a surprise to some, a snazzy American auto, the Corvette, shares small car honors with Mercedes-Benz for safety.
The design on the automobile on impact, where it's designed to buckle under and no large objects or engine parts coming through the passenger compartment. It's a very crash-worthy car.
American cars dominated the category for the best results in both injury and damage. The Delta 88 is a good example of those on the list. The larger, heavier cars are your best bet in an accident. By no means the final word. The findings are based on the reports of a dozen major insurance companies that wrote 40% of this nation's car policies. I'm Rebecca Hanshaw, Toledo 11 News.
Toledo's had a long history with the auto industry. It's, of course, home to the iconic Jeep Wrangler, and the Glass City has hosted its own auto show more than 100 years. So let's take a look back as Toledoans kicked the tires with Dick Berry in 1986.
They're wheeling, dealing, pitching, and pushing the newest domestic and imported cars and trucks.
What's the difference between leading the way and just going along with the crowd?
Pretty hard to get in and out of these back seats, that's all.
But that is the largest trend to get in the industry.
It's beautiful.
25 tuxedo dealers are on hand, 160 vehicles on display. Crowd estimates could hit 70,000.
I figure I'm getting one this summer, but I'm looking so I know what to do before I buy.
I'm looking to buy within the next year, probably.
But most of the potential customers we talk to just drop by for a look. Not necessarily a good deal.
I just purchased one about a year ago.
I just got a new one.
Just recently purchased a different Mustang. We just thought we'd look at the differences.
This is only one of 48 car shows in the country. Timing is important.
We specifically have it in January because that's generally a slow month in the automobile business, and it's the month we really need help, generally speaking, and it makes January one of our better months compared to what it used to be.
The Greater Toledo Auto Show runs through Sunday here at the Lucas County Rec Center. Admission is $2 for adults. Children under 14 get in for free. Dick Berry, Toledo 11 News.
It might sound like a familiar story today, but in the 80s, high interest rates on car loans caused a steady decline in sales. By the summer of '87, GM and Ford were ready to offer some deals. How about a 1.9% loan? That's what Toledo 11's Evan Rosen found nearly 4 decades ago.
The announcement came just in time, say dealers. 1.9% General Motors financing may speed up car sales and beef up a sluggish market. GM is offering the record low rate only on 24-month car loans. Dealers say were it not for the new rate, they might be in trouble.
Would have meant a very large inventory that we would have had a great deal of difficulty moving had they not come out with some sort of a program.
Just one day after GM announced the 1.9% financing rate, Ford did the same thing. Since Ford's announcement, the phones have been ringing off the hook at this dealership. Customers can get the low rate through September. And between now and then, this dealer expects a 10% increase in sales.
We noticed just today that we've had quite a few deals, direct result of the rebate program. People had heard about it in the news last night and came in today. We've had a pretty good morning already.
Dealers say even though the new 1.9% financing rate is helping sales a bit, they worry the novelty of low financing rates is wearing off, that the car-buying public is beginning to take low rates for granted. Evan Rosen, Toledo 11 News.
Now we head to the windy city of Chicago. The year is 1988. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the top-grossing film in the U.S., and the Chicago Auto Show is showcasing the beginnings of a comeback for U.S. automakers.
For 9 days, Chicago's McCormick Place turns into the largest showroom in the country. 800 glitzy vehicles spread out over 2 gigantic halls covering 650,000 square feet.
Nearly 1 million people will come to the Chicago Auto Show this year. The only other auto exhibition in the world that's bigger takes place in Japan.
What direction a product line takes is traditionally determined at the Chicago Show. Results of consumer surveys here often change the design of a car. Case in point, the Ford Taurus.
And one of the big questions on that was, when they surveyed the people, did they like the car with a grill or without a grill? And the vote was overwhelmingly without the grill.
Jim Mateja has been covering the auto beat for the Chicago Tribune for 20 years. He says big is back.
You know, we've seen all this downsizing to get better fuel economy. All of a sudden now the cars are going to go back to be getting bigger again.
Light truck sales are at trendy record levels. Mateja says consumers see the vehicles as glamorous.
The light trucks make a statement that you're an individual, and it's very popular to have one. Also with light trucks you're getting four-wheel drive, and people in the snow belt are saying, hey, four-wheel drive is a great system to have.
And a preview of the future is always at the Chicago Show. Designing one of the sleek concept cars is a gamble worth taking.
50% of people like a new vehicle and the other 50 hate it. You've got a winner on your hands.
Land is the man behind the experimental Mercury Machete. He says the next generation of cars will emphasize comfort instead of style.
How you doing today?
Let's talk dreams, automotive dreams of the future.
You'll notice the teardrop shape of the vehicle is very streamlined and aerodynamic.
The solar-powered General Motors Sun Racer is on the cutting edge of technology. It's big on aerodynamics, small on engine, about 11 pounds. Still, the solar kinks have to be worked out.
At the moment, we need to have some breakthroughs in lightweight, inexpensive batteries, and also some breakthroughs in solar cell technology.
Distinctive, sporty, sleek. They are the concept cars, experimental eye-catchers automakers designed for the next generation of consumers. It's turned into real serious business.
These are very serious business propositions. No more sky blue. These are real kinds of things.
Land designed the Mercury Machete. He says a roomy interior and not necessarily a sharp exterior will sell cars of the future. The extra space is available because of smaller components, smaller engines.
That's going to create more freedom for the interior designer to make changes in the interior, how the people sit, how they relate to each other. There may be people facing rearwards, sideways. It's going to open up a whole new avenue of design.
Now, it's really not going to be that long before the concept cars you see here in Chicago begin popping up on showroom floors. Most of the vehicles should be available for sale within the next few years.
But there's one dream machine in Chicago that could turn into a financing nightmare. A snappy van with 24 onboard computers. Price tag, $7 million.
Sometimes trends from the past come front and center again. We've all heard the talk about electric vehicles, but it's not a new concept, though they looked a bit different back in the summer of 1991. Evan Rosen headed to Findlay to show off what was at the time an innovative way to get around town.
It sounds more like you're taking off in a jet than it does that you're driving in a car.
Steve Wolfram is experiencing what you may one day do. Steve, who works for the Hancock Wood Electric Company, is driving an electric van. Sure, this $50,000 model looks like any other van with its General Motors body, but there are no exhaust fumes. Of course, air pollution is far from a major problem in Findlay, but
We think that electric vehicles will have a place even in rural areas eventually because of how they can reduce our dependence on foreign oil.
But electric vehicles do have their problems. This one will travel no more than 60 city miles. Then you have to recharge the batteries for at least 8 hours. The top speed this van will go is 52 miles per hour. The van is rolling into the Hancock County Recreation Center for a trade show, and the Toronto-based company that designed it will gladly answer questions. One question involves possible health problems from the electromagnetic fields electric cars can create.
In terms of just the electromagnetic question, there's still a lot of open issues relative to that, and I don't think it's been totally proven or disproven.
So far, Conceptor Industries has produced 100 electric vans. The company has sold at least 80, mostly to electric companies and colleges. The biggest technology stumbling block is this 2,800-pound battery pack. It's too heavy for smaller vehicles, but the technology wizards are working, and the plan is by 1998 to have electric vehicles in showrooms across America. Evan Rosen, Toledo 11 News in Findlay.
The next year, you would think those electric vehicles are going to have a big showing at a place like the Detroit Auto Show, but the newest designs are coming from Plymouth, Oldsmobile, and Eagle. And 1992 marked something else special, the debut of the all-new Jeep Grand Cherokee. A police escort helped the latest from Jeep make from the Jefferson North Assembly plant in Toledo to the Motor City, complete with Chrysler President Robert Lutz and Detroit Mayor Coleman Young inside.
4, 3, 2.
The competition is very intense.
Better, faster, quicker on a world-class basis with much less investment.
We are staying in Detroit to make it through Y2K into the year 2000. And this year, Cobo Arena went big. Daimler Chrysler showed off its 300 Hemi C, the Dodge Max Cab, and the Dodge Viper GTSR. And Jeep rolled out something different, something WTOL 11's Carly Walker called radical.
Media from around the world packed in to get a peek at the future. Lights flashed, music roared, and acrobatic ninjas came out of the ceiling. It almost upstaged the cars on display, but not quite.
Dodge Max Cab, a pickup truck for families.
The Dodge Max Cab. It's a pickup truck where the passenger gets top priority, not cargo, but it promises to hold a lot.
Is this what you were looking for?
Next, the Chrysler 300 Hemi C, a powerful V8 convertible, sleek lines, and a security system that only lets the driver with the matching fingerprints take it for a spin. And a spin at high speeds is what Dodge unveiled in its Viper GTSR. Built as a true competition car and a perfect street racer, it sure got the crowd's attention. But one of the most radical changes, the Jeep. They call it Jeep Varsity. The only sure way to recognize the sporty Jeep, it still has the trademark 7-slotted grille. And of course, it's a 4-wheel drive. Chrysler says the Jeep Varsity combines Boulder and Boulevard, and in a few years this concept car could be rolling out of the Jeep plant in Toledo.
It's possible. I would never roll out anything, but we got a great surprise coming for that plan, and it's going to be great for the market. It's going to be great for Toledo.
Tom Gale, Vice President of Development and Design, gave no hint about what surprises are in store for Toledo's Jeep plant. But as for when the Jeep Varsity could possibly hit the streets.
Well, this one is, we're good at 2 or 3 years, and so it would be at least that far. But we're with a pretty good track record.
Chrysler hopes to get feedback from the public about how they like the redefined Jeep when the auto show officially opens. Carly Walker, Toledo 11, the News Channel.
What a ride from the turbocharged trends of the 80s to the slick styles of the new millennium. This week's WTOL 11 Vault took us on a road trip. No matter the decade, one thing's for sure, our love for the open road never goes out of style. Well, that's it for this edition of The Vault. Don't worry, we'll be back with more blasts from the past before you can say, start your engines.